The earthen dam section that has got to be used for the mini percolation tank is exhibited here. This is the ground level, and this is the formed earthen bund. And while forming this earthen dam, we have to excavate the bottom soils for a depth of about 4 to 6 inches. That is the grass roots and other vegetative material that would be there in the top surface. They have to be removed. And also the soil in the top layer for about 6 inches or 4 inches depth would contain the roots of grasses and certain roots of plants and things like that, and also vegetative matter. That has got to be removed. Unless it is removed, otherwise the dam foundation will start leaking. So we have to remove the topsoils, what is called stripping of topsoils. And this topsoil has got to be removed and kept separately as a heap. And that should not be used for formation of the earthen dam. It has to be kept as a separate heap. And when the earthen dam has to be constructed, the soils from the borrow area would be in the submersion area. For example, this is the ground level, this is the water level when it is full, what is called FTL, full tank level. And when it overflows during very heavy rains, the water level rises above while it overflows over the spillway, and this is called the maximum water level. And at no time the water level exceeds this level. And there is a freeboard of 0.6 meters above the maximum water level. And above the FTL, the space is nearly 1 meter. 1 meter depth of water and 1 meter above the FTL, out of which 0.4 meter is taken for the MWL line, that is when it overflows over the surplus weir, it reaches this level. So this freeboard is essential, that is 0.6 meter freeboard above MWL, that is the top of the bund has got to be 0.6 meter above the MWL. And the top width is 0.9 meter and the side slopes are 1.5 to 1. It is 1.5 horizontal and 1 vertical. This slope also is like that, 1.5 to 1. This is all for red soil areas. If supposing we have black cotton soil or clayey type of soils, then this side slope will have to be flatter than this. It has to be 2 to 1, 2 horizontal, 1 vertical. So it will be flatter than this, 2 to 1. A black soil or a clayey soil has lesser density than the red soil, and due to that we require a bigger section of clayey soils. Usually people think that clayey soils would be very good for an earthen dam. Actually it has got lesser density and therefore the stability will be less for black or clayey soils. In the case of red soils or sandy clays or gravelly clays, the density is very much more than black or clayey soils, and therefore a smaller section would be adequate for the earthen dam. Now the borrow area soils, I just now said, has got to be obtained from the submersion area. We will see in another map what that submersion area would be. Submersion area extends onto this side and for a distance of about 50 meters or 100 meters, and in that area we can make pits. The details of those pits are in the other drawings, and we borrow the area from the submersion area soils and deposit here onto the earthen dam, and this deposition has got to be done in layers of 6 inches, one layer 6 inches, and this has to be consolidated by moving a hand roller of 1 ton roller, we call it. If supposing the roller is not available, a tractor can be drawn, a tractor can ply on that, and tractor consolidation can be done. It has to be done in 6 inches layers, After consolidation of the 6 inches layer, another 6 inches will be spread, another 6 inches will be spread. Like that, the earthen dam has got to be built. Consolidation is important here, otherwise the dam will start leaking. And while doing this consolidation, there should be some minimum moisture in the soil. If supposing the excavated soil is not having sufficient moisture, then we may have to add some water to that in order to get the optimum moisture content. And most of the cases, the soil will have the requisite moisture, the excavated soil will have the requisite moisture, and it is just necessary just only to do the rolling with a tractor or a 1-ton roller. After completing this section like this, the soils which are excavated, what you call the stripping soils, and which are heaped separately, they have to be spread on the slopes and on the top. We have to spread this one. The idea is, when it rains, good amount of grass will grow, because this topsoil has got the seeds of grass and also some of the vegetative material and good amount of nutrient for any grass to come up. That is the nutrient rich soil. The topsoils are always nutrient rich soils. And when you spread the nutrient rich soil on the top of the earthen dam, and when we get the first rains, we see immediately sprouting of grass. If supposing there is no topsoil at all here, and it is just borrow area soils that are used for the earthen dam, when it rains, not even a blade of grass will come up, because these are all structural soils which will not have any seeds of grass or which will not have any nutritive material for any grass cover. This grass cover is needed for number of reasons. One is, it protects the sites from erosion. When rains occur, there will be soil erosion, a rill formation, and when there is grass here, it will avoid the rill formation and erosion of soils. And here also it is needed because it will also prevent the erosion of the soils on the slope. So this is one aspect. The second aspect is, it keeps the particles of soil bound well, and even when there is a small ripple of a wave hitting against the sides, because of the grass there won't be any disturbance of the soil, because the grass keeps the soil well bound with the roots. Actually, there is no need to have revetment here. Many people think that the dam will be safe if we have revetment here. Revetment is stone revetment, rough stone revetment. Now, why is this revetment then required? It is required for withstanding the wave action. Suppose there is revetment here, and this is a big tank, a tank having a water spread of about 1 kilometer, or in some cases it could be 40 kilometers in the case of major reservoirs. So a big water spread is there, and when there is a gale, a cyclone or a gale, there would be wave created. A wave action would be there. The wave height will be something depending upon the velocity of wind and the fetch of water, that is the length of water body available there. That determines the height of the wave. And the wave hits against the sides of the earthen dam. As the wave hits, then it displaces the soil particles, and as it hits, it has a run up, it runs up, and then it withdraws. Just like a wave action on the beach, we see a wave hits the beach and has a run up, and then again it withdraws. So at the time of withdrawing of the wave, it draws the soil particles along with that. So there will be erosion of soil, and the soil is already disturbed by the wave hitting against this, and wave run up and retreat of the wave will suck it out, will suck out the soil particles. So we require revetment here in order to withstand the wave action. And this wave, when it hits here, if there is a stone revetment, then it can withstand that and no soil erosion takes place. But in the case of the minor storage like this, a half an acre water spread or water spread distance about 60 meters, then the wave is imperceptible. Even if there is a small wave, a wave hitting against this, the whatever grass that is there, it can take care of it. So there is no need to have revetment. And when we avoid the revetment, the cost of the structure gets reduced to 1/3. For example, the Earthen Dam costs around 8,000 rupees without revetment. With revetment, the same Earthen Dam would be costing 25,000 rupees. So there is no need for having an expensive stone revetment, because technically it's not required. When once the grass comes up here, it's not required, and therefore we can avoid that. So in all the mini percolation tanks, we don't provide for any revetment at all. But then we will see that the top is covered with the stripped soil, which contains the nutrient and then the grass seeds. Similarly, in the borrow area, the top 4 inches or 6 inches layer of borrow area soils, that should not be used for the Earthen Dam. In the borrow area also, we have to excavate the top 4 to 6 inches depth, which will contain the grasses and the roots of grass and seeds of grass and certain other vegetative material. All that topsoil will have to be excavated and kept as a separate heap, and that heap also can be spread over the Earthen Dam, and in which case we will have a good amount of nutrient soil supporting grass cover, and therefore the cost of the structure comes down very much and it will be stable and strong. One more thing about this Earthen Dam is there are no cut-off trenches, there are no key trenches. Usually key trenches are also thought of in minor irrigation works, though no key trenches are provided in the major dams, major or medium projects, Earthen Dams, but somehow it has come up in the minor irrigation structures, key trenches. Those key trenches are not required in the case of these Earthen Dams, because they don't have any purpose, structural purpose. Cut-off trench is also not provided because we are not trying to see that the cut-off is completed. We are not having any concern about the seepage that occurs underneath. As long as the structure is stable, it is all right. We don't require a cut-off trench. This is the Earthen Dam plan. For example, the length of the Earthen Dam is depicted here. It's nearly 60-meter length, and this is the lowest portion of ground on which the Earthen Dam is built. So therefore we find a wider section of the Earthen Dam here, and as we go towards the end, the ground levels increase in level, and therefore the height of the Earthen Dam will become lesser and lesser, and this would be the bottom width of the Earthen Dam. And the submersion area caused on account of this Earthen Dam is shown here. This is the FTL contour, that is when the water level reaches the sill of the surplus escape or surplus weir. A surplus arrangement has to be necessarily provided at one end of the Earthen Dam, and the stream, supposing it is something like this, flowing like this, we are bunding that stream by an Earthen Dam and creating a storage. And suppose the storage is already created with the initial rains, and a further rainfall occurs in the catchment area of about 5 to 10 hectares of catchment area. When a further rainfall occurs, then it all has to spill out of the structure. Otherwise, the water level rises and it will cause a breach in the structure. So for any Earthen Dam of this type, irrespective of their size, we have to provide a spillway. It's a necessary in all the cases. And the length of this spillway depends upon the catchment area. A bigger catchment area would result in a bigger flood flow, and therefore the length would be longer. A smaller catchment area would result in a lesser discharge, and the length of the spillway can be shorter, can be even a small length would be adequate. The design of the spillway, the length and the other features are explained in the subsequent posters. Now when water overflows over the spillway, it occupies a higher level, and this would be the extent of submersion when it is overflowing over the spillway. That is what is called maximum water level line. It would not exceed this line. The submersion will not exceed this line. The submersion would be up to this point when it is to the brim, when there is no surplusing, and when it is to the brim, the submersion will be like this. Now we thought of excavating certain soils for forming the earthen dam. That soil could be in this zone. This is what is called the borrow area, and this borrow area could be within this submersion area. Whatever soils we get here can be used for forming the earthen dam. In the case of red soils, we said the earthen dam will have a slope of 1.5 horizontal to 1 vertical. But in the case of black soils, supposing these are all black soils, the earthen dam slopes on either side would be 2 horizontal to 1 vertical. So it will be a flatter and a bigger earthen dam section, as what we have already discussed. And this portion of the submersion area would eventually get silted up, and this will also be useful for plowing and cultivation, even in the intermediate stage as well. And this area can also be cultivated when the tank gets emptied. That is, after the rains, say after the month of October, when the main season is over, main monsoon season is over, then the lake or the small storage would percolate down and gets dried up completely. Then with the residual moisture in the soils here, one can raise a rabi crop with the residual moisture starting from middle of October, and the crop can come for harvest by middle of February. With the lowest evapotranspiration requirement of the crop in the year, for example, the evapotranspiration requirement of the crop in summer will be very high, whereas in winter it would be very low. And in the winter, especially in the months of December and January, there may be dew also. So the crops can come up very well with the residual moisture as well as the dew. Crops like horse gram and cowpea and things like that can also be grown in this area, and they can get a good crop yield. So farmer doesn't really lose the land under submersion in the sense that though he may not be able to raise a kharif crop, he will certainly be able to raise a rabi crop. And the farmer may lose some land in the formation of the bund. Here also the farmer can plant trees on the bund, on the slopes and on the top, and he can raise green manure trees, or he can have fruit bearing trees, and he can make use of the bund for raising all types of trees, whatever he requires. So he doesn't really lose any land, and the farmers are coming forward to have these mini percolation tanks in their fields. That is because when about a quantity of this much of stored water goes into the subsoil and then recharges the water table, and this happens something like 10 to 15 times in a rainy period, and for every rain it gets filled up, every big rain it gets filled up, and supposing we have some 10 such rainy periods, then 10 times it gets filled up, and all that water will go for a recharged water table. And down below, whatever wells he may have, that is open dug wells, for those wells there will be good amount of recharge, and he can raise crops using the groundwater even during the summer period. That is early summer period also he can raise a rain-fed, a light irrigated crop. And in the areas where these things were executed already, the farmers are able to raise one kharif crop in the down below area, and also 2 light irrigated crops. So the advantage is they get good amount of groundwater on the downstream side of the bund, and they get groundwater almost to the same extent as is available under the command area of minor irrigation tanks. As we know, in the minor irrigation tanks, when the tank is partly full or full, the Ayacut area wells, open dug wells, will have a lot of groundwater. In some cases, the water table will be almost at ground level. So a lot of groundwater is available in the eye cut of the mine irrigation tanks when there is storage in the mine irrigation tank. Similarly, when there is storage here in such upland areas also, there will be recharge and there will be good amount of groundwater available on the downstream side of such structures. So the farmer gets the benefit of raising light irrigated crops for his area. Supposing he has about 2 acres of land, dry land, rain-fed land. He loses about half an acre of land in this submersion and another 1.5 acres of land he may have here. This 1.5 acres of land is assured of certain benefits like light irrigated crops through groundwater and also a rain-fed crop. In the case of one farmer in Bhadrachalam area, it has been observed that out of the stored water here, he could irrigate by gravity flow about half an acre of rain-fed paddy. Rain-fed paddy crop was withering for want of rains during the Kharif period. There was a drought spell of about 25 days. And in that drought spell, the crop has got to be protected. So he has used this water for one irrigation only. That is what is called life irrigation. That life irrigation has saved the crop and he got good yield. Whereas the other 1.5 acres or 1 acre land, whatever he has got, it is a slightly higher elevation, higher level. He could not take water there and also the water was not available to that extent. So that area is total loss. He could not even get 1 bag of paddy there in that 1 acre, whereas he got about 6 bags of paddy in this half acre because of the life irrigation. And that way the farmer also gets the benefit of the stored water during a drought spell in the Kharif period. This gives the view of the cross section of the earthen dam. For example, this is the ground level. This is the earthen dam at one end where the ground level is fairly high, and this is the borrow area. And this borrow area has got to be at a distance of 10 meters from the earthen dam, and the reason is any pit excavated here should not undermine the stability of the earthen dam. This may not be very important in the case of small heights, but in the case of this a big height that is involved, and when there is a 2 meter height of earthen dam built over the ground, the borrow area has got to be at a distance of 10 meters like this. In some cases I have seen the borrow area to be very close to the earthen dam, as close as something like this. That's not good for the stability of the earthen dam. So therefore it has to be constructed at a minimum distance, keeping a minimum distance of about 10 meters from the toe of the earthen dam. The borrow area can be like this. And the borrow area also should not be very deep, could be half a meter to 1 meter depth. And this soil will be dumped here and consolidated. So this is just an indication of the distance we have to maintain from the toe of the earthen dam to the borrow area, and it indicates the cross section of the earthen dam that will be built on the ground. As you see here, there are no key trenches or cut-off trenches. This is good for the purpose of storing small quantities of water up to 1 meter depth. And any seepage that may occur on the foot of the earthen dam, that is toe, is due to improper consolidation or due to not removing the topsoil. If supposing the topsoil for a depth of 4 to 6 inches is not removed and the earthen dam is built over the natural ground, then also the leakage would occur along the bottom of the earthen dam. So the stripping of soils or excavation of topsoils is very important. Now let us discuss how an estimate for such an earthen dam can be prepared. As we see here, this is the deep course of the stream, and the earthen dam is having the maximum height here, therefore the maximum width. And as we go towards the sides, the width gets reduced and again here it's further reduced. Similarly on this side also we have a reduced width, therefore reduced height, and a further reduced width and a reduced height. So the heights vary depending upon the ground level. The top of the earthen dam would be the same level. The ground level varies with a lower level here and with a higher level here. So for each section we have the height of the earthen dam determined earlier in another diagram. So the ready reckoner table is given in the guidelines, will facilitate preparation of an estimate for the earthen dam without actually making any measurements or any calculations for quantities or working out the costs. They are all given in one line as a ready reckoner table for different conditions of heights of earthen dam, and this is applicable for all the cases of such earthen dams built in any watershed. So the ready reckoner tables are common for all the watersheds, but in the case of rates that have been given in the ready reckoner tables, the rate of work, for example earthwork rate and rate for stripping soils and the leads and other costs, they vary according to the schedule of rates of that particular region. For example, all Telangana region has got one schedule of rates for different types of works, and in certain other districts of coastal Andhra, the rates may slightly vary. So those rates applicable for that area will have to be adopted for working out the costs.